name is Brennan, and I'm from northern Indiana, up kind of by Notre Dame. It's a place called Elkhart. Yeah, just a little about me. I'm kind of just really active in sports, and I kind of always just loved learning.
Amazing. When did you first consider Harvard as a possibility? Was it always a dream school for you, or did it become one?
So I don't know. When I was younger, it was actually funny. My uncle lived in New Haven, up in Yale. So when I was really little, I wanted to go to Yale. But then for a while, I really wanted to go to Stanford. But I think kind of coming into my junior year, I had done the right things. I talked to my teachers, and they were saying like, these Ivy Leagues are definitely an option. So I kind of figured like, why not apply to Harvard?
Okay, and like I guess apart from that, like what specifically do you do Harvard over the elite schools?
Um, so I just think when I visited here, there was just a sense of kind of like passion about everything that everyone was doing. Like I went to like a coffee shop, and they were just there's people like intensely talking about the stuff they're working on, and just like it was just really exciting to me. It was an exciting environment. And then for me, financial aid was probably like the most important thing because it's just college is expensive, so they just did a great job of offering financial aid and making it affordable for me.
Makes sense. Okay, and I guess like the most important thing people are very interested about is your academic stats. So let's talk about those. So I guess like what was your GPA and test scores that got you into Harvard?
So my unweighted was I think like a 3.98 or something. I had 1B in calculus my sophomore year, and then my weighted was like a 4.5, I think. So I was at the time of the application, I was number one out of a class of I believe it was about 760, and then my SAT I had a 1490 super score.
Okay, and for the SAT, like how many times did you give it? What was your starting score? What was your final score?
So I took it 4 times. The first time I took it was my sophomore year, and I got a 1330. It wasn't my best work. I took it my junior year. I got a 1460. I took it again my junior year. I got a 1470, and then right before my senior year, like, before applications were due, it was senior fall. I took it. And I got a 1480, but the way my scores were set up, it super scored to a 1490.
Amazing. And I guess like 1330 to 1490 is a decent jump, but how'd you get there? Like what practice resources?
Really, all I used was Khan Academy, and I think the biggest difference for me was just learning how to use Desmos. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just a really good tool, and even if you don't understand the content completely, if you graph something out and use Desmos, it makes it so much easier.
Makes sense. Okay, I guess like a lot of people would also be thinking that when you're applying to Harvard, you think about like even though 1490 is not a bad score, but you think about that because your competition is literally going to be like 1600s and everything. So I guess how did you feel about your academic profile compared to other applicants in that sense?
Yeah, that was really like it was a kind of tough choice for me, like to think about for like a lot of the colleges I applied to, like if I was going to include this SAT score, because like you hear people online and they'll say if you're not within the median range, like probably shouldn't submit it. But the way I look at it is, even though it might not be the best score, it still shows that I had very good abilities in that, and that if I were to go test optional, it would be kind of like maybe admitting that I have really low scores. So I think for me, the 1490 still shows as a good score, even if it's not necessarily up to the standard of um, the other people there. I also think an important part is kind of like the context of my like situation. Like in my school, in my area, it's like one of the top scores.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe it was very contextual because I've had some people with like even lower scores who got into Harvard. Their school averages were like 800 or 900.
That was about where my school average was.
Makes sense. You said like the last SAT you took right before the application.
Hmm.
So like I have looked so many students also asking about this timing as well. So like if you like you had to juggle essays, SAT prep and ECs at the end. So how would you manage all of these responsibilities?
So I really just started with the essays. I wrote a lot of essays, so I just started early. I mean, as soon as that Common App came out, I was strategically kind of thinking of, well, first off, I applied to a lot of schools, so I was thinking of what are the most important to me, what do I need to work on first. Then, additionally, like I would just kind of like I would do that in the mornings. I would look at my essay works, and sometimes if I had spare time in class, maybe I'll work on my essays, have my teachers help me with it. But then the SAT prep was almost all at night, and I would just after I'd get home, I'd just spend my goal was 30 minutes every day. Sometimes I would, be less, sometimes be more, but just go on Khan Academy and just kind of working out the stuff I knew I needed help with.
Makes sense. And did you take any AP classes?
Yeah, so I think that was also I think a big part of why I got accepted. I took as many AP classes as I possibly could, really. So I think my school offered 10 classes and I took 8. And the only two I didn't take were music theory and environmental science because um I was really I was applying with the intention of being engineering and I didn't think that would be beneficial to kind of
Yeah.
the skills I would need.
Okay, and a lot of people also have this question like, did you get like all fives on your AP exams, or did you have like some fours or threes?
I actually I didn't report a lot of my AP scores because I just didn't think I did very well on them. I got a lot of threes really. So I took 8 of them. I think I got 4 threes and then the rest were fours and fives. But again, I think it's in the context of my situation. So not that my AP teachers were necessarily not capable, but the average score in my school were typically like ones and twos. So I think I'd assume took it out of the context that I did really good in the class and I still passed the AP exam. But given my situation, this may be the best I could have done.
Makes sense. Okay. And like, how did you balance taking all of these courses while maintaining your GPA and SAT and everything?
I don't know. It was definitely difficult. I'd say my junior year is like when I loaded it the most. We had 8 classes, and so 4 of those were APs. I think it just keeping good time management was really beneficial for me. Like I I had a really good sleep schedule. Like, no matter what, I'd be asleep um, or in bed by 9:30, 10, waking up same time every day just to keep it consistent. Obviously, there's some variation from that when I had to, but I think just for me, staying in a good routine keeps me focused and more efficient.
Makes sense. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about your ECs. So, guys, can you walk us through like a couple of your most unique extracurriculars, the ones you think made the most impact to your application?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of my time, like I kind of mentioned, was spent athletically. So I played 3 sports in high school, and that definitely took a big chunk. But then aside from that, I was in the National Honor Society, which I don't think was anything big, but I had an internship with a manufacturing company, a local manufacturing company, and I worked as a manufacturing engineer as intern. So I think that was pretty impactful because. Um, that's what I intended to apply for, and it kind of showed that I had a background in that, and I was really interested in pursuing the stuff that I was interested in. And then additionally, it was kind of in the works, still kind of underway. We had started me and a couple of my friends, we started like a nonprofit organization through our school, and so it's still actually getting processed. And it takes forever, I guess, but it was with the intent to kind of just raise funds for just impacts that we think could unite our community within my school, and it was kind of based off of when the Hurricane Helene hit. I know it was very a big issue, and I saw people from my community actually helping people down south. So I thought, us as a school could do more to help people around us.
Okay. And like, I guess like, when was the earliest you started thinking strategically about your activities?
Really, I didn't really have much thought into it. I just pursued what I was interested in, and sort of how I do everything. I just made sure I was like working my hardest to just do the best I could in everything. I never really had like a specific plan like these extracurriculars will get me in. I pursued what I was interested in because at the end of the day, that's just what defines me.
Would you say you had varied activities, or were they very niche and focused on?
I think they're pretty varied. I used to do like orchestra when I was younger, my first couple years of high school, and like I said, I was in 3 sports, so that took a lot of my time. NHS, student government was in there, my internship, and then also some of my summer stuff. I played summer baseball, which took up a lot of my time. Yeah, so I think it was all very varied.
So, how did you make sure they all put forward a consistent narrative throughout your application?
So I think um, probably the most important part of my application is I genuinely love learning. I just like working on new things, and so that was really what I wrote about mostly. Is how I kind of just have always it's kind of always been my comfort is just trying to learn new things and kind of isolating myself to learn new things. And I thought that the environment at Harvard really cultivated that. It really cultivates learners.
Makes sense. Okay, and another question would be like, if you're doing such like so much stuff, and you had like varied interest, how do you quantify impact when your numbers aren't that huge?
I'm not really sure. I'd say I think Harvard really appreciates breadth. They really preach that, and so I think having um, a little bit of everything is just important to them no matter what. I just know for me, each activity definitely played a different role in my life and allowed me to kind of see things from different perspectives.
Okay. And I also ask this to a lot of students who come over. Harvard really values leadership, right? So, how did you show leadership on your application?
Yeah, so go ahead.
And what do you think the difference is between leadership on paper versus real leadership?
So, so how I kind of express my leadership is definitely through. I had a personal anecdote kind of about the wrestling program. So when I came through when I was a freshman, it was kind of looked. I was kind of already looked upon as kind of a leader, and so um, I kind of exemplified in my writings how I thought it was really important to just create a good culture, and that kind of just lead an example, lead by example, have everyone want to be doing the right things. And so that was really important to me for my wrestling program. I was a two-time captain, and it was just, that was a big part of my life. And it just restructured again, the way I kind of view things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. And yeah, let's talk about your awards and honors. What did you put in that section, and how strong do you think they were?
So I don't think I had anything that was too ridiculous. So I think I had we call it was student of the year for my high school. I had that, and then I had an award for from the Indianapolis Colts. I was one of I think like 12. They were called the academic all-star team. So you had to be a varsity athlete and meet certain requirements, and they only selected 12 seniors. And then of course I had my AP scholar, and then really that was it. I had good achievements in my sports. Like wrestling, I was a state qualifier, multiple time captain, multiple time MVP, multiple time sectional champion. But aside from that, I wouldn't say I had anything otherworldly.
Let's talk about your essays, because I think this is where you made the most difference in your application. So I guess how did you turn your journey into compelling essays that were impressive enough for Harvard?
Yeah, I just really focused on being genuine. I didn't want to paint a picture of something I'm not. So for me, I focused on how I seek to build structure through kind of like learning and just being always curious. So that was what my main essay focused about. And then I would touch on that in each of my supplementals, kind of talking about how I really want to expand what I know. And I think, being in a good environment can help me expand that. So that was a really important part to all of my essays, just talking about my passion just for learning, like no matter the context, just to learn something new.
A lot of people are like currently waking up to reality about essays last couple of months before ED. So like how do you suggest they approach the essay writing process at this moment?
I mean, for me, I just it's kind of like trial and error. I think I would just write it and I'd have someone review it. I'd write it and have someone review it. And I honestly I had 3 or 4 topics that I wrote about until I finally narrowed down my final one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just made sure that when I reviewed it, sometimes it's clear to me when I'm writing, but it might not be clear to someone else. So I would just have multiple teachers kind of review it and give me the perspectives and kind of really just make sure that what I thought I was writing was clearly being expressed.
Do you think like getting so many like outside reviews filters out your own thoughts, because then your opinion gets lost?
So the way I approached it was I like to take their information in and kind of see how they perceived it. But what I was looking for is that the message I was getting across was being perceived well, because it
Mm.
doesn't matter like what I think if it can be perceived by the person reading it.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Many students like don't have a college they're like truly passionate about, and they just like some schools and then apply everywhere, right? So like, how was this college selection process for you, and how did you balance reach, match, and safety schools? And like, how did you find out like Harvard would be the place for you for the next 4 years? Because it's very important to decide that as well, right?
Yeah. So it was a lot of process. Like I said, I had a lot of schools that I applied to, and it took me a while to really narrow it down. So I wanted to make sure that I could get into school, obviously. So I had a good amount of those safeties, and then I had a really few targets, to be honest, and more reaches, I would say. So I structured it where I knew I could get into a public school with a good program. It might be different for me because I was fairly confident I would get into Purdue engineering program, which is already it's a state school for me, and it's already a very elite program. So that made me a little more reassured because I was very confident I would get in there. So it kind of shifted my focus from just the targets to more of the reaches, and really making a compelling story to get in some of those reach schools, and to like My fit for Harvard, I think it was really clear. Like I went on a visit here, and like I said, it was just like I could tell this was the environment I kind of wanted to be in. Everyone just was very passionate, unique, and they just like they loved what they were doing it. So it made it a really easy decision for me.
Uh, Apart from Harvard, did you get into any other elite schools as well?
I mean, I wouldn't say I got into a lot of elite schools. USC and Notre Dame were definitely the top of my lists, and I got waitlisted from a few like Vanderbilt and Rice. I got waitlisted from, but I just withdrew my application once I saw the acceptance to Harvard.
Makes sense. Okay. I think yeah. My last question would be like, what advice would you have for your freshman self?
For my freshman in high school, yeah, probably just pursue what interests me. Don't worry about it. And I think I think the important thing is no matter what school you get into, if even if it's not a top 20, you're still the same person. You're still pursuing the same goals. No matter where you're at, you can do great things.
Thank you so much for your time. I think it will be immensely helpful for people who are looking to apply.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.